Tanya, and today we are talking about weight loss and health. And I know what that feels like to want to lose weight yesterday. And just getting so frustrated. I also know it's the end of summer, and perhaps some of us have been indulging a little bit too much and we're putting on our fall clothes and they're a little tighter. Or maybe you have hit your weight loss goal and just now realized how maintenance is also part of the adventure, right? So really making sure what we're doing is working. So weight loss should feel like this. It should feel easy, doable, and it should just be that easy. But instead, we make it difficult, punishing, and like time restricted. So in the method I teach in my Impulse weight loss course, it really is about learning how to let go of the panic button, the I want it yesterday, following a diet. We are going to be bombarded with diets in the next little while because people are looking for quick fixes, because that's just how our brains work. We want the easiest way to get something, and we spend so much money instead of learning what to do with our brain, because diets don't work. They don't work. They really don't work. And I don't know how many times to say that or what to do with that. But if you're a diet person, then don't listen to me, because what works is changing your mindset. So when it's easy and doable, and it can be, trust me, shifts start to happen. So the two mistakes we're making, part of it is what I just said. We're making it way too difficult. We're trying to change, like when you get a diet and it's like eat this way for the next 14 days or 21 days or whatever it is, it can be so different from what we're doing, or have foods we would never make that we're never going to do them. So I do have meal plans I share with people, but for ideas of, and here's the next mistake, is that most people have no idea where they're going. Or they don't even trust themselves anymore, because we have lied to ourselves so often about, oh, I'm going to lose this weight. And we try and do something, we hope this thing will work without actually doing the work to get there, because we're just hoping for that fairy dust. And then it doesn't happen. So the two mistakes we make are, one, really not understanding what we want, and two, trying to get there in a hurry, not having the right plan to get there. And I see it so often because people want the flippin' fairy dust. And trust me, I was there, having decades-long addiction to sugar, right? And when I finally changed my mindset, because I had, what I was hoping would work never worked, and that was dieting and deprivation and shame, and oh my God, it was horrible. Anyway, so the last thing is, why? Hey, Ann, give me a nice little, or Annette, give me a nice thumbs up. I'd love a little heart or two, and by all means, let people know about this video. And then, and why do we keep quitting? So what happens is, I get a lot of people ask me or say to me, like, why do I keep quitting my diet? I cannot stay on plan, right? And what happens is that, first of all, we're not being realistic. So we're setting ourselves from failure from the very beginning, because we're doing something that is not our norm. So when I first start working with people, I get them to send me like a 5 to 7 day food diary, because I want to know where they are now. And then we work where you are now, and we do tiny little shifts to get where you want to go. Instead, what happens with a diet or something is that you get this massive bomb dropped on you, and you just can't follow it, because you don't have the habits, you don't have the thoughts, you haven't dealt with the mental, the emotional, all of those things that go into your success long term. So here's what happens, is that you're not understanding those issues, and you start to get sloppy because you want to start getting the quick fix work. And so you skip your food journals, you start to skip your exercise, you grab some cakes, cookies, donuts here, and a bite here and a bite there add up. And we call these little quits, right? And just so we're clear, I totally used to do them a lot. And, I have this thing even in my book, Cookie Dough in the Dark, that if I wasn't sitting down, it really didn't count. And let me tell you, I use that one a lot. But little quits add up to big quits, and they also erode your trust in yourself, which is totally what happened to me as well. So when these little quits add up to big quits, we either stall on our weight loss, or we start gaining weight, or that's where maintenance, people are in maintenance. You're like, oh, I'm finally here where I am. And then all of a sudden you start to creep the weight on because you were following a diet as opposed to going through the mental work you needed to. So before you can fix this, you also have to take ownership of the choices you are making. And this is where a lot of diets fail, because they focus on the food and not on your habits, your reactions, or your impulses, which I just talked about, and where I go more in depth in my impulse jar course. You also use these excuses, and in my book, Cookie Dough in the Dark, I list like pages of excuses, right? So I am trading exercise for a manicure would be a choice, but that's not what we tell ourselves. We use it as an excuse and say, I didn't get to my exercise class because I went and had a manicure. And basically, you're just BSing yourself and not taking responsibility and ownership. And when you just keep piling these excuses on, it erodes your mental clarity again. So if you take ownership of the quit, then you start taking responsibility for your next good decision. And your next good decision is like the next decision you make, not on Monday or January 1st or whenever it is taking ownership and then just moving on. And the next video I share with you in the next email that's coming out on Thursday, I'm going to dive a little deeper into what I do differently now that helps me. But most people are probably doing this now, and that's not helping them. But right now, take responsibility for your quits and make a list of the things that you aren't doing. Like if you know you want to get somewhere and you know how to get there, why aren't you getting there, right? Be honest with yourself. Write down why you're not doing them. And this is when I say to people that you may not even want your goal. And if you don't want your goal, pick something else, because it's so tiring to keep talking about something that you really don't want, but you think you want, or society thinks you should lose weight, or whatever it is. And then just decide how you will get started or adapt your planning to get there. And this is where, I do private coaching with people, or if I can get a group going, we get into a group. So own what's happening, own it. And I honestly, if you really do want to get to a goal, starting with writing down what you're eating and noticing what you're doing is amazing. And if you want tips and tricks about how to get to where you want to go, that's where my course Impulse Jar comes in, or we can set up a coaching call. And that's it. So September is one of the diets industry's biggest push times. You're going to see lots of diets out there, maybe more than ever, because people have been indulging all summer and they're feeling yucky and lethargic and blah, and their pants are getting a little tighter. So they're wanting all of a sudden panic, fast, quick fixes. And so they're going to spend your money on diets which don't work long term. And do you know how many people were talking about this in class the other day? How many people have done, for example, the Bernstein diet, where it's like very low calorie, it's 500 calories, you take shots, blah, blah, blah. They lose 60 pounds and then they gain 80 because they're so food focused and they haven't learned how to do the brain work, the mental work. So again, if you're a diet person, stop listening to me, because I am not. They're just such a waste of money. But if you really want to learn what's going on to reach your goal, then by all means, let's chat. Anyway, I've answered those 3 questions. Hope you're having an awesome day, and I look forward to hearing from you. And if you know anybody who wants to crush their sugar cravings, lose weight, gain energy and health, by all means, bring them into our wonderful community here, and I will talk to you all soon. Mwah. Bye-bye. Oh, and you can pick up a copy of Cookie Dough in the Dark. Just message me and we'll get that sorted out for you. Bye.